You're tuned in to Repco Muscle Garage, the home of New Zealand's toughest hot rods, muscle cars and street machines. Proudly brought to you by Repco, in association with Mount Shop, Maguire's and Rizlone. Later on, we catch up with an iconic Dodge and take a look at two replicas that reflect a four-generation Kiwi legacy. But first, thanks to Rizlone, we're heading down to Rangiora in Canterbury for the 33rd edition of the infamous Muscle Car Madness. No event gets South Island car junkies revved up quite like this one. There's a huge number of classics, rats, rods, bikes and trikes everywhere you look, and a whole lot more besides. These days, it's not quite as raucously balls to the wall as it once was. But this is still a high-octane power fest, and undoubtedly one of New Zealand's biggest automotive parties.
Well, I reckon Muscle Car Madness is something to get you away from all the worries of the real world. You enter through the gate, you forget about what money you owe, how much everything is, and just kick back and have a lot of fun. We have over 2,000 people, from newborns through to old people, older than me even, you know. They just seem to love it, and it's not getting any smaller anytime soon. Yeah, a bit of an institution, yeah. Seem to have motorised boats going on and you know, mobile couches and anything outside the square. So with a lot of the project things that turn up, it's very backyard creative. You know, like the home handyman building a set of drawers, but you know, with a V8 motor in it.
And when it comes to amazing builds, year after year, Muscle Car Madness attracts the cream of the Canterbury crop. And for that matter, plenty of participants from further afield too. And this stunning C10 is a seriously good example of the craftsmanship and creativity you can expect to see when you get through the gates.
I sort of just contacted Craig by email, and then next thing I know, the artwork came out and it was on the poster, so yeah, pretty committed at that stage to get it down here. Yes, basically had every single panel on it was modified in one way or another, and just tried to broach the barriers, I guess, between a tough street machine and a street truck, overseas style. So, you know, it's got a bit of power, it's low, it tucks big wheels, got big rubber on the back. Slam trucks have got quite a small demographic, so you know, it's also just good to try to get that out to a wider audience. When I purchased the truck, I actually purchased it from a guy in Christchurch. You know, took that back up to Tauranga and sort of rebuilt it a few times since then, so it's cool to bring it back down. And you know, some people might recognise the scheme of it, I guess, from being down here before, but yeah, it's obviously been changed quite a bit.
And of course, there's plenty of shops who use the event as a great excuse to show their wares and get amongst the action.
Well, Muscle Car Madness is our local event. It's just based down the road from our workshop. You know, if they're car enthusiasts, local people that just want to come and have a look, we've got a rather large variety of what we do. A lot of people might go from utes to different running gear to improvements on what they had, you know, things they didn't like about the last car. And what we try to do is, especially with this event, is bring them out in stages each, because a lot of people know that the car's not built just in a year. So, you know, you can see from starting from this chassis to even bringing out a steel body that we're working on, then combining the two together into paint, finishing them in different stages. And a lot of people will come back just to see that vehicle progress over the years. And then once she's all finished, then, yeah, you hand it back to the customer.
So, as you'd expect, there's some pretty immaculate vehicles on display. But Muscle Car Madness is obviously about much more than trailer queens and trophy winners. This is a bit of a grungy licorice all sorts kind of affair, with a wide array of quirky rides, bare bones tyre shredders, and even agricultural automotive on the agenda, and a pretty special spirit to go with it.
They call me the Goose Trader from Geraldine. I talk a lot about mental health and that sort of thing with farmers and the truckies, so I've come to Muscle Car Madness just to get mental health out there a bit more. But I brought my old Fordson up. It's actually registered as a 2020 Fordson Majorly Mental. V8 D out of a D series Ford, 504 V8. She's good for about 50k an hour, so she's a mean machine. Fits in with a bit of madness, but it also breaks the ice with people as well. They come up and have a yarn about the tractor, and then we just start talking about life. So coming to an event like this, it's awesome. For me, for the show, for everyone, sort of thing.
There's something quite unique about this one, an idiosyncratic breed of Canterbury craziness that you have to experience to truly understand. This is a mecca for petrol heads. Brilliant builds, radical rat rods, sick burnouts, the list goes on. So what is it about this event that has people flocking down to the A&P showgrounds in serious numbers year after year?
Pretty much haven't seen anything that I've seen before so far, so that's been pretty awesome, and just seeing all the different styles and all the builds.
The builds that have gone past are impressive, the rat rods and that sort of thing.
It is what you make of it. We'll leave it at that.
It's an epic show, so I'll certainly be back.
The community's very, very supportive of it, and we'll keep going until we're not allowed to.
Now with some help from the mount shop, we're up Katikati Way to take a look at one seriously special car, especially if you happen to be a movie buff. This white 1970 Dodge Challenger RT. To many, this particular model of Dodge sparked a major passion for muscle cars, thanks to the much-loved 1971 cult classic, Vanishing Point. And one of those people was Carl Boulevant.
I was watching Vanishing Point at my grandma's. I didn't know what it was. I just knew that the car was like this badass white V8, cruising around, and I was just fascinated, glued to it. It wasn't until years and years later that I actually, did something when I could afford to buy a car and started to search for it, that I figured out it was a 1970 Challenger, of course white, and that's pretty much what got me going.
Obviously, Carl's passion for the movie and the vehicle ran deep, which meant he was pretty particular about staying absolutely true to his inspiration.
Had to be a 1970 Dodge Challenger RT. I saw a couple of 1971s, and no offence to those owners, but I just love that 1970, that honeycomb grille, just the looks, the tail lights, and it's the car from the movie, so it had to be 1970 Dodge Challenger RT.
Finding this particular Dodge took a while, 6 months to be exact, and the model he found was in pretty hot demand too. But fortunately, the seller was local, giving Carl first dibs, and he promptly snapped it up.
But overall, it was really good condition, just very tired. Silver engine bay, bits of blue fleck everywhere, because it was originally a B5 blue car that someone painted in the 1980s, quite early on. So they've obviously kept that thing going over the years. So when I got it, I decided to, continue that and do it properly and take it right back. But yeah, it was very solid and all original, numbers matching 440, 727, 8 3/4 inch, so it was all there and actually pretty solid.
The build for the car evolved over a few stages. Initially, he didn't want to get too carried away and focused on some obvious fixes: brakes, steering, carb tune, that sort of thing. But then Carl quickly started getting a few ideas and things got a bit more serious, eventually becoming a full restoration, complete with some added giddy-up.
I wanted to keep it stock for a while. I didn't know a hell of a lot about cars. I guess like most guys, I got carried away and got into it, which is good. But after building the car, it was a bit boring. The 440, albeit good, was built stock, so it was quite mild. It wasn't very grunty. I like a lot of power, so yeah, after a while, it was like, man, we really need to go further. Let's strip her down and get it going and fully restore it. So that's the way we went. Took 4 years to restore, so it's not too bad. Went right back to bare metal. Everything was taken off, nut and bolt. Engine was rebuilt, transmission was rebuilt. So it was built. The engine was built by Tim Banning at For Hemis Only. He's a real well-known Hemi guru. It's a 540 cubic inch aluminium Keith black block. It's got all the internals are just straight out of NASA. It's just so beautiful. Such a shame to cover up. It's got light rate rods and pistons, 4-bolt mains, Eagle race crank, 10-to-1 comp. Yeah, he built it and said that when this is done, lampposts will just fly past like nothing. So he definitely delivered on his promise. So we did the subframe connectors, which are XV Motorsports, is what they're called. We did the inner frame connectors that go underneath the fenders. 3-link rear, again from XV Motorsport, so that's all adjustable. Yeah, it just really stiffened up. You can't have an old car with that kind of grunt, that's just unfair. Yeah, everything as well as the transmission, which is the numbers matching torque flight. I've kept that in. They're just bulletproof. You can't destroy them no matter how much you want to. It's all ready to go, and that's bolted to a 1 of 5 gear vendors auto shift sequencer. So it just splits the existing 3 gears into 6, and that's controlled through the pistol grip on the button of the shifter. So you bang in first gear, click, splits the gear, shift up. So it's kind of the manual auto best of both worlds. Something just a highway brawling machine that's reliable in real world conditions.
Despite some new school mechanicals though, including a pretty flash EFI setup, this is a Mopar that's deeply beholden to its roots. The fact that it's a well-known numbers-matching Dodge is clearly a source of pride. And keeping the Challenger true to the spirit of the original was definitely the brief.
I just think for me, factory will always be in. It's always going to be cool. That's how they came out. It's basically just the fat tyres at the back and maybe the 540 emblem and just a good stance, and then the rest is pretty well stockish. You can tell there's something going on.
An iconic car, serious performance, and then there's that beautiful Hemi engine note. Yep, it's fair to say that the dream Carl had since way back when he was 12 years old has now been fully realised.
Oh, 100%. This is my dream car. You find yourself walking back to your car a little bit slower so you can really appreciate. You don't want to look like too much of a plonker, but at the same time, you know, you spend a lot of money and it's a cool car. I can say that, I think. And yeah, it's just my absolute dream car. Just the sound, the power, just all about it, the vibe. It's that kind of Vanishing Point freedom car, that white soulmobile that I actually love and represents me as a person really well.
The advanced protection of hybrid ceramic.
Whoa.
Now in 3 easy-to-use products. In original spray wax, now as a liquid wax, and a spray detailer. Meguiar's hybrid ceramic family with advanced SiO2 technology. Meguiar's, ceramic made easy.
Rizlone has been in engines almost as long as engines have been in cars. Why? Because from then until now, there's never been a perfectly clean fuel. This means every time you fill up, you're adding pollutants and contaminants to your fuel system. Rizlone Fuel Injector Cleaner can cure those woes and help save your engine. Rizlone Fuel Injector Cleaner adds an upper cylinder lubricant, providing double the cleaning power out of the same bottle. We know something about aging well, so when we say it's your engine's fountain of youth under a screw top, you can count on it. Rizlone is the original engine tune-up, available at participating stores near you.
Welcome back to Repco Muscle Garage. Now, courtesy of Meguiar's, we're in Auckland to meet a man who's built 2 amazing vehicles that are both truly one of a kind. Andrew Anderson's 80s XE Falcon and GT Mustang have become a unique way to pay homage to a rich family racing history. They're based on his dad and Kiwi racing icon Bruce Anderson's famous Pine Pack racing team, with a look and distinctive colours which were well known to any Kiwi racing fan back in the day. And these bad boys look period appropriate, right down to the last detail. Bruce's Pine Pack exploits, in tow with some titans of the sport like Dick Johnson, across numerous Group A encounters including the groundbreaking Wellington street races, were unquestionably the stuff of legend. It's fair to say they made a pretty big impression on son Andrew growing up, and as you'll discover, have created a legacy that endures with another generation of Anderson racers today.
Dad had quite a history of racing. He unfortunately lost his father to a car crash, so he parked it up and focused on us as a family. But in the early 80s, Dad got back into motor racing with my uncle, and I have very fond memories of as a 10-year-old kid getting taken to the workshop before school. Dad was building up a race car, and it was pretty cool that he was a race car driver. So following Dad around as a young kid, I always had aspirations to get behind the wheel. Was very fortunate to get that opportunity in the 90s, and as a kid going through his teenage years following that, it was pretty special.
The jewel for Andrew from those amazing race cars of yore is obviously the XE. This one's slightly modified from an 82 Fairmont, but with tweaks, it's a perfect stand-in, the ideal canvas for this amazing idea. And while they've done plenty to the exterior, they've kept it light touch on the mechanicals.
In the back of my mind, I always had a passion to want to own an XE Falcon. It was a car that I'd followed as a kid with my father's racing career, and it just ingrained in me. It was just something in me. I just had to have that car, so I had to do the right thing and build a replica and recreate what just was a special time in my childhood. And my goal in life was to get one in the garage, and my very kind wife Andrea, she saw me trolling through Trade Me year after year, and then finally one year I built up the courage to say, hey, this is the car. This is the one I need. In 2015, purchase was made. It came up from Christchurch. You could see the diamond in the rough. The cars are fairly standard. The Falcon, when I got it, its original spec is a 302 spec engine, but it had already been upgraded to a 351. So it's running a 351. I did put a few little extras on it. Again, contacts through motor racing, it's hard not to just tweak a little bit. So it's got a couple of niceties just to make it a little bit punchier. So we've got upgraded manifolds and carburetors, but we didn't go for the big stroker kits or anything like that. Still running the C4 automatic, and a lot of people said to me with the Falcon, oh, you got to put a 4-speed in it. And I said, it's just a cruiser. It's 292 rear end, so it just chugs along in third gear down the motorway.
One thing that immediately catches the eye are the stickers. Like a full 1-to-1 scale replica model kit, Andrew's recreated the look by poring over old photos and then had them painstakingly designed and applied to be period perfect.
My good friend Steve Neuer, he kept on me. He said, hey, it's not a replica until the stickers are on it. So with Dad's help, we trolled through photo albums, pulled them out. Great work with my signwriter. We went through diligently, and I got a little bit of an OCD in me, and we managed to get them as close as we could. And yeah, look, it really changed the look of the car. The XE was always one that was going to happen. It was a case of when, and fortunately, planets aligned and it happened.
The XE's only the beginning though, because Andrew then managed to get his hands on an '85 Ford Mustang GT. And again, it was the perfect starting point to recreate another Bruce Anderson classic. And happily, this particular Mustang also came with some nice surprises.
I was due to go to America to go racing again with close friends in Texas. COVID shut the world down, as we know, for a couple of years. So I thought, well, let's see if I can bring a bit of America back to me, and started trolling the for sale sites, and lo and behold, this thing popped up. Oh no, it's the exact car that the Group A cars were based on. You know, a GT Ford Mustang, last of the carbureted, 4V, 302s, 5-speed. Oh, just, it ticked all the boxes. So again, had to have a nice chat with Andrea because it was in North Carolina. Bought it off a listing online. Then when it arrived here, it unmasked a bit of a story and some secrets, and it started with having a steel bell housing on it. So hang on, someone's put a Scattershield drag racing FIA bell housing on it. Had some traction rods in the back, upgraded suspension, upgraded manifold, and a few other little niceties like headers, exhausts, and all the things I kind of wanted to do to it, but it had already been done. So I haven't been able to uncover from the previous owner what the story was, but I suspect it had been used down the drag strip a few times. We enjoy going out on cruises and going to car shows and being down to Beach Hop, and yeah, it's nice that the cars get appreciated. And what's really cool as a family is that we'll roll up with the XE, and I get a lot of people asking me, is it the original? And then they'll tell me a story of how they know the original car, and it's really cool that the cars have sparked the life again in a part of history that means a lot to the family, and it means a lot to me personally as well.
With an obsessive level of detail akin to museum pieces, these fascinating vehicles are the ultimate labour of love and a fitting tribute to a decade of motor racing excellence. But Andrew's dad, the original driver, is also a little bemused by it all.
I think there's a degree of madness, I think, involved in doing anything like this. Certainly commitment was something Andrew had, and that came to the fore during these two builds. We committed to build that original XE Falcon. That body shell came out of Australia, taken to our workshops at Whenuapai, built up from scratch, literally. It was a dipped car. So all that commitment that went into our car, Andrew had likewise applied to his. Would I have asked him to do it? No.
It's been a huge effort to construct these cars then, but for Andrew, it's been totally worth it. He's proven the apple doesn't fall far via an amazing career in V8s and other classes in his own right, and clearly loves the sport. And Andrew was always enthralled by what his father could achieve in it. So the question isn't why, but more, why not?
Watching my father race with legends of the sport, you know, Dick Johnson, Leo Leonard, Robbie Francevic, you know, and getting to do it with Dad and sharing my career with him throughout has been priceless.
As these cars attest to, sharing a motorsport passion has also helped create a deep bond between Andrew and Bruce. It's led to some pretty special memories as Andrew was coming up under the tutelage of not just his dad, but other esteemed Pine Pack colleagues as well. But as their careers intersected, it also led to a few moments of rivalry on the track too, which are equally fondly recalled.
First time I let Andrew drive my 69 Mustang, that was pretty special, and that was a risk. You've got to remember that the risk taking is still going on to this day. But back then, Andrew got to sit in that 69 Mustang with over 500 horsepower even back then. That's right up there for me.
Racing against Dad, it was. You knew it was Dad, and there was a couple of occasions we might have made contact, and the discussions after were pretty awkward. It was very special to race with your father on track. Recently, my youngest son Nathan and my father, all three of us got to race together in the B&H finale at Pukekohe. That's very, very special to do 3 generations.
I often said that my dad didn't give me a great chance to compete against him, and that's circumstances and the time. So I made sure that Andrew, and now in turn his sons, get a chance to experience these cars. So I'm very, very proud of that.
This is an amazing story of incredible moments in New Zealand racing history, of an esteemed family racing pedigree, of an obsession with building the perfect tribute. What is it about motor racing that fuels the Anderson passion and everything that comes with it?
4 generations of Anderson's been hill climbing and endurance racing and touring car racing, so I don't know, it's the old adage of it's in your blood, and it's just in your blood, and we tried to explain that to my young boys when they were really little. Why do we like cars? And it's like, it's in your blood, you've got it, sorry. And now we're both getting to watch the next generation, and I'm getting to share what he shared watching me, watching my son and his grandson doing exceptionally well, and and long may it continue.
We'll see you next week on Repco Muscle Garage. Feel like your car could do with some TLC? Well, thanks to our series sponsors, we could be hooking you up with this incredible prize pack. For a start, there's a huge Maguire's and Rislone complete car care pack valued at over $760. We've also thrown in this unbelievable Mech Pro Blue 248-piece toolkit with 3-drawer chest valued at $566. To stay on top of everything underneath, there's a $500 Mount Shop voucher. And last but not least, you'll also score a year's subscription to NZV8 magazine. That's a total prize pool of nearly $2,000. To enter, just head over to nzv8.co.nz and hit the Muscle Garage link on the homepage. The winner will be drawn at the end of the series, so make sure you get amongst, because this prize pack is one major haul. Good luck. Repco Muscle Garage was proudly brought to you by Repco. It starts with the parts. Mount Shop Undercar Specialists. Maguire's, people who love cars love Maguire's. And Rislone, high performance additives for high performance vehicles.